Alrighty, hi and welcome to Scootle Live webinar series. Today's event is a community, is a community meetup with looking at science. I'm Lou Bow and I'm stepping in for Lee Murphy, who normally would run the webinar series. So bear with me as I stumble through this. We'd like to introduce you to our two presenters today, but before I do that, I just wanted to highlight next week's webinars and the future ones that are coming up over June. So we've got history coming up next week, and Jan Malloy from the museum here in Immigration Museum here in Victoria will be presenting. So that will be certainly a webinar to attend if you are interested in history. But for today, we are looking at a range of digital content and curriculum resources, networks and competitions to support the Science Australian curriculum. And we have with us Manager of Intel Teach Program, Becky Harrington, who will highlight the Intel Science Student Talent Search and Teacher Professional Learning Program. And we also have the CSIRO Education Awards Manager, Vicki Stavropoulos, sorry Vicki, about Australian Science Education Awards and competitions which you and your students can get involved in. So really, it's action-packed today, and we have a few slides to go through and a few videos we want you to be logging into. It's great to see so many people on board, and you can see with the poll that people are telling us that they're science educators and where they're from. So it's nice to see a few people from New South Wales and the ACT, as well as our Queensland colleagues and South Australians. So that's a great start. So I will put the mic over now to Vicki and Becky and take you into the next screen so you can begin.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lou. Hi, everyone. Becky, did you want to say anything seeing you had instigated the webinar first off, or are you happy for me to start?
I'm happy for you to start, Vicky, but thanks to Scootle and Lee and Lou for giving us the opportunity to talk to everyone this afternoon. And yeah, I really think we've got some interesting information about events, programs and resources here that you'll be interested to know about. So over to you, Vicky, at the moment.
Okay, thanks, Becky. Okay, so welcome again, everyone. As Lou said, I am the Awards Manager at CSIRO, looking after the CREST Awards program and the BHP Billiton Science and Engineering Awards. And what Becky and I are planning to do this afternoon is to run you through those two programs really quickly, run you through an online teacher professional learning course that is run through Intel to support you in getting involved. And to start off with, I thought what we would do is watch a video to show where, just to get some inspiration. These are some students who were our prize winners last year in the BHP Billiton Science and Engineering Awards, and it is their story and their story of also going across to Intel International Science and Engineering Fair in the US. So I've just put up the link. If you can have a open up your web browsers and watch the YouTube clip, and when you're ready, just either raise your hands or put a smiley face in the chat box. I'll know that the majority of you have actually have watched it. So if you can do that, that would be great, and then we'll come back and have a bit of discussion. Okay, I can see that there's about half a dozen, not a half a dozen, but about half the group have seen it. I'll give you another couple of minutes, probably about another minute. But please raise your hand or put a smiley face or something so I know that you've finished watching it. Okay, thanks, Louise. Okay, so hopefully that sort of inspired you. That's where we want kids to get to. And that was last year's cohort that we took to the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair from our winners from the National Science Competition in Australia, the BHP Billiton Science and Engineering Awards. This year we took 4 students and I'm not going to read through all of them, but you've got the next slide. You've got Jake Coppinger from the ACT, who was an engineering student, Lewis Lutchinsk from Queensland, and we've also a Victorian student, Conroy Cheers, and New South Wales student Vinay Kumar, who was also engineering. Conroy and the student just before Lewis were students that did investigation projects. So what Becky is doing at the moment is pulling together another video to showcase these 4 boys and their experiences and their projects. Yep, they really are quite inspiring kids. We had about 10 to 14 days together in the United States attending the Intel ISEF competition, which is a competition involving about 1,800 students from across the world from 70 different countries. And these are the students all in one room, which will be the scientists and the engineers of the future. It was just incredible. Becky, did you want to say anything about ISEF? No, she's... Okay. We also had along with us, we had the 4 students, Becky and I, and we also had the winning teacher from the BHP Billiton Science and Engineering Awards, which was Miss Judith Seiss from Victoria. Yes, Lou, there is a mix of male and female students, but unfortunately this year, the top 4 that went across to ISEF were all males. It's probably the first year ever we've had that. We usually have a mixture of females and male students. So these were just some of the best bits from and some of the comments that we got from the students whilst they were over in the States. So you could see that they really, really valued being able to talk to students from across the world.
Can you hear
Becky.
Hi, can you hear me, Vicky? Yeah. No, I was
Yes,
just
I
going to say
can.
it was just wonderful to see them in. Yeah, I was going to say it was fabulous to see the Australian students interacting so well with students from all around all around the world. Um, and they really were very, very popular, the Australian delegation, weren't they, Vicky? And yeah,
Very much.
here they are. This photo is basically of typically how they performed at the ISEF fair. You know, they were in amongst the thick of it all the time. You know, and yeah, and there's our inflatable kangaroo, Steve, held aloft there.
Yeah, the students were amazing ambassadors for Australia. There was a fifth student there as well from Australia, and that was Ethan Butson, who who had gone across with the New South Wales delegation, but he also had been our engineering award winner for BHP Billiton as well. So it was really lovely to have 5 Australian students at these international awards. Now, both Ethan and Lewis received prizes over there, which was just fantastic. And if you could hear the cheering from the few Aussies in amongst the thousands, probably around close to 8,000 people, we were quite loud. The event itself is the students presenting their work to judges. There's about 1,000 judges in total on judging day. And then there is a public day the following day where there is even more students that come along and actually see all of the projects in one spot. So it really is an inspiring event each year. So they're our top end kids, right at the very pinnacle of it. That's what we as teachers usually aspire to get our students to in the science area. But obviously not all of our students will get to that point, but we can certainly assist them through a variety of different programs and activities to get involved and hopefully spark an interest there. So what I want to do for the next couple of minutes is really quickly run you through the 2 programs that I manage and let you know how, if you're interested, how you can get involved, and then hand over to Becky, who can tell you a little bit more about the professional development online courses that she has available. So the first program is CREST, which stands for Creativity in Science and Technology. It is a national non-awards competitive program, so you can have some fairly weaker students as well as some really academically able and interested and creative students taking part. So it is open to everybody at this level, and they receive the awards to the best of their ability. If they complete their own open-ended project in science or their own open-ended design challenge engineering project. So basically, the students come up with their own ideas, their own problem that they want to solve, their own area of investigation that they want to carry out, and then they design it themselves with assistance from the teacher acting as a facilitator. They present their work, often within the school, and then enter it into various competitions, which I'll explain. So it really does focus on genuine open-ended investigations or engineering projects. As you can see there, it builds some problem solving with the students as they're working their way through. And there is a range of support material for both teachers and students. So we've got some student handbooks that will guide them through the process. We've got assessment rubrics. There are what we call profile cards and planning guides to guide them through how they would undertake their own investigation or their own engineering projects. It is at all levels of schooling. So we have 2 distinct programs. We've got one called Introductory CREST, which is geared for primary school students. I will say foundation to year 6, but often we find that it's usually from about year 3 and up that they tend to get involved. Having said, that's where the majority are. The Advanced CREST program is geared for high school students from 7 right through to year 12. At the higher ends of the program, For the silver and gold projects, we start to connect students with mentors and advisors to really give them that in-depth involvement and expert experience as they're working through their investigation. We award the students at all levels. Some are at, with little stickers and a certificate at all levels, and at the higher end levels there are medallions for the students. So it is a non-competitive award scheme geared to engage all students in science and engineering. Are there any questions? I might just stop there about CREST. If there's any questions from anyone or comments. I know it's a real snapshot, but we'll come back to it if need be. Okay, I can't see anyone raising hands and I can't see any chat, so I'll move on. Okay, so that's the one program that we have. What we do strongly encourage is when the students have completed their own open-ended project, they enter that project into the local Science Teacher Association competition, and there's the links for everyone right across Australia. I must admit I didn't check where everyone was from, but if you want to write down your own association down, you can go to that website and find out when are the dates for their science competition and see what's involved. The next step after CREST and the Science Teacher Association competitions is this national science and engineering competition called BHP Billiton Science and Engineering Awards. This is a national competition which is a partnership between BHP Billiton, CSIRO and the Australian Science Teachers Association. The only way to enter this is either through CREST at the higher ends, blue being the top end of the primary school program and silver and gold at the high school level, or through the state-based Science Teacher Association competitions. There are no longer any direct entries to the BHP Billiton Science and Engineering Awards. We're trying to pull the top entries from across the state to go to this national competition. What happens there is that we select the top 26 students, and that can be in a mixture of engineering and investigations. This year there was 7 engineering students and the other 19 were investigation students. Last year it was 10 engineering students and 16 investigation students. So as long as we have our top 26, those top 26 students come together and we have a 3-day camp in Melbourne where they get to present their work to a panel of judges in person as well. And that's where we determine the winners, the first, second and third prizes, and who will be going across to the US. They also get the opportunity to visit various science and engineering organisations and go behind the scenes and see what it's like. And often some of these students who have come from rural areas haven't been in that type of environment before. We also have the Teacher Awards, and each Science Teacher Association, as well as CREST, nominate one teacher as the teacher finalists, and from there we will select our winning teacher to also accompany the students across to the US. All of this is announced at a very prestigious award ceremony in Melbourne. We usually around close to 200 guests are there from all areas of science and engineering organisations across the country and universities. So it is a very high profile event in that community. And as you can see, there are loads of prizes, including the teacher and the two I've mentioned, 2 winning students travelling to US. That's the minimum that we would take across. And through the generous support of Intel Australia, we were able to take 4 this year. So hopefully that will continue in future years. So how do they all fit together? If you imagine the CSIRO CREST program being the base, because we've got the scaffolds, we've got the support mechanisms there to assist teachers in how to get into open-ended investigations within their classes and how it can help support them with their curricular requirements. That's where CREST fits in. It's non-competitive, everybody can get involved. And then from there, your exceptional projects, or the projects which show that real high level of creativity or satisfy the Science Teacher Association competitions, you would feed into that next level. From the STA competitions, the top winners from that are then sent across to the BHP Billiton Science and Engineering Awards. And if you remember, we also look at our top, this is CREST's top entries as well. If they haven't gone through the STA competitions, they end up at the BHP level through us as a different avenue. And from the BHP Billiton Awards, that's the pinnacle is Intel ISEF. Okay, I'm going to pause again and just see if there's anyone else that's got any questions before I move on. What I might ask is hands up, raise your hand if you have heard of CREST or have been involved in the program, just to give us a bit of an idea. I can see one, so it's all right, so it's quite new to everybody. Okay, so where do these type of competitions and awards programs fit into the curriculum? Well, basically, if this is with the Australian curriculum, as most of you will know, there are the three strands. CREST and BHP Billiton and the STA competitions are really geared around science inquiry skills. That's what we're doing through these programs. And the 5 points underneath the science inquiry skills is exactly what we're asking the kids to do through these programs. Lou, yes, CREST has always been national. It started in Australia about 1996, 97, and it was based on an international program that originated in the UK. And I'm talking specifically about the secondary school program. And so we mirror, so it operates in the UK, in New Zealand and in Australia. But each CREST program has evolved to suit our own national curriculum's requirements. Probably our top states would be New South Wales, Queensland, Victoria and South Australia. And that's probably due to population as well. So it's quite strong across all states. We get about 9,000 students completing or receiving an award every year, with about 12 to 13,000 being involved across the country each year. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Becky, who will go through the next part of the workshop, but please, if you've got comments or questions, just pop them into the chat line and I'll start answering them. And there's Kate, so I might just, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Vicki. We might just see what Kate's typing. It might be a question for you, Vicki, but...
Yes, Kate,
okay,
definitely.
that,
CREST, there is no due dates with CREST at all. Yeah, I'm okay. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Yes, to get involved in CREST, there are no due dates. You can start and finish whenever it suits your school requirements. There are due dates for the Science Teacher Association competitions to get them into that, and there are also due dates which the entries for BHP are due as well. But if you're looking at that base level, yes, not any time of the year. We often have schools that will start in term 1 because that's what they want to do, or we then have schools that start in term 4 and finish in the following year. So no problems at all. I should mention quickly the cost for CREST. It costs the school $55 to register for the very first time, and then it's a $20 renewal cost each year, and that's just so you can keep receiving all the material and have access to our online site. But happy to talk about, CREST in more detail later as well. So over to you, Becky.
Thanks, Vicki. So that was great to hear all that about what's been going on in America, and then all this national and state level process and awards programs that are available. And to go hand in hand with that, Intel, with its interest in STEM and STEM careers, STEM education, has over the last few months been working on the localization of a new course for Australia and teachers. So it's a professional learning course for teachers called Inquiry in the Science Classroom. And this is it's
there,
an
Becky, we seem to have lost you on the mic.
Course, which is available free of charge to any teachers here. And we will be publishing it, I would say, in the next 2 weeks. So it's very exciting. So I'm hoping that I can put something out on Scootle once that's the time is right, Lou, to let everyone know that this new course is here. So what is it? What is this course? So what it is, it's a course which takes teachers through the inquiry process in depth, demonstrating how to integrate inquiry through classroom examples and scenarios. And we're conscious that the inquiry skills component of the Australian science curriculum may be new and unfamiliar to a lot of teachers, and this course actually is a fantastic support, a great resource for teachers. It's great for teachers who are new to science inquiry. It's good for teachers who are already doing some of that, because it will take them to the next level and give them the confidence to use inquiry strategies in more powerful ways with their students. And it's also really good, very supportive for teachers who want to get their students more involved in such things as the Science Award programs. And it looks, for example, it looks at the continuum of science inquiry and how teachers can begin to integrate inquiry practices and move from a more structured and guided approach to inquiry to a more open-ended style of teaching and learning, which is vital for students who are going to engage in this kind of Science Award program, for example. And as Vicki said, it focuses on science inquiry skills, which are at the core of the Australian curriculum science. It provides practical strategies and tools to help manage classrooms where you've got students working on multiple inquiry projects, which is obviously a less linear kind of world and a more challenging world for a lot of teachers as well. So I put together just a few slides just to give you some dot points about the course, really. And we have also alongside the online modules. So the online modules will probably take about 5 hours to complete. Alongside those, there's an offline action plan which teachers complete so that they apply what they've learned through the online course to their own classrooms and their own students. And accompanying the online modules is a huge bank of tools and resources which in effect teachers can dip in and out of as they wish. So there's a lot of flexibility about the course. Yes, you can do all the online modules, or if you wish, you could, if you're an experienced head of science, for example, you might want to use the course to go in, select some resources and present them at a staff meeting, for example. So there's a lot of flexibility around this. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. So again, that just covers some of the information I said there about the 5 hours for the online modules, 10 for the action planning. So this is one of a series of courses called Intel Teach Elements, and I don't know if some of you have heard of Intel Teach Elements courses, but they've been around in Australia for probably about 4 years now, and each of those courses, and this one is the same, the format of it is that the course follows a couple of other teachers, generally a very experienced teacher who's working with a less experienced teacher and mentoring them to some degree and supporting them as they try to implement new strategies in their classrooms with their students. And so this one is the same, follows a couple of teachers called Ken and Jennifer. And you also, this is a course that can be done as a self-study course. Equally, there are facilitation kits for students, for teachers who might wish to facilitate a course with colleagues. But one of the great things about following these other two teachers is that you also are provided with their action plans, their completed action plans. So that gives you as a teacher sitting on your own, maybe at home, doing it as a self-study course, gives you a starting point to think about how you're going to implement these new strategies with your own students. So the online modules, these are the titles of the modules. I mean, for example, Module 2 looks at the nature of scientific inquiry, explores the foundations of scientific knowledge. It looks at what it is for a student to be an inquiry-ready student, and also if your classroom, if your environment is inquiry-ready. It looks at skills for scientific inquiry, information literacy to support scientific skills, processes and procedures. Module 3, instructional design, that looks at alignment with curriculum, and the course has been mapped to the Australian curriculum, so there's some strong guidance there on mapping to curriculum content descriptions and year level achievement standards and so on. Module 3 also has a big section on assessment, purposes of assessment, how you use formative and summative assessment with inquiry projects. Module 4, that really looks at a variety of things. It analyses lab activities and field work. It looks at environments that support inquiry, so learning communities, collaborative communities. Looks at scientific discourse, science talk, science writing, and it looks at inquiry practices, instruction, metacognition, and so on. And the final module, Module 5, that explores in quite some detail some new tools and resources to support scientific inquiry. So tools for data presentation, tools for data collaboration, how you manage your classroom, technology tools that will help you manage your classrooms when you have students working on sort of multiple inquiry projects. So Vicki, did you want to say any more about the course at this stage?
Yes, I was about to try and type a few things. I typed a couple of things. There are some really great resources that sit along the modules as you're working your way through it. So if you haven't had any experience in inquiry, in science, in inquiry learning in the science classroom, then this is a course for you to work your way through it. If you are quite proficient in teaching through an inquiry process and you're looking for some really specific resources, they're in there as well. There's some great links to PDFs, little checklists for the students as they're working through an investigation, for example, or if they're working through trying to come up with an open-ended type of project, and the types of questions they should be asking. There's some great resources on how you would analyse the data effectively. So there is a really great toolkit sitting behind the whole courses as you're working through it as well.
Yeah, so Lou, I'm sure we can do something in terms of Scootle and getting word out once the course is available to teachers. As I say, it's freely available. It's going to be online, and will be a great support for teachers who are looking at doing more in this kind of space, in this area of inquiry projects and using inquiry strategies in science classrooms. It's a course that's great for teachers of students in years 3 through to year 10, is what we say, but I think teachers for any year level, actually, if they have an interest and are working with science with students, they would find it really useful and interesting. So the last slide I put in here was just some other Intel STEM resources. So Intel School, which is available through Scootle. So if you search for Intel School within Scootle, you'll find this bank of about 140 different online resources that are all based around science and maths. And again, there's a fair bit of flexibility about how you use those, and those Intel School interactive resources have all been aligned with the Australian curriculum as well. And then Intel, over the last 5 to 10 years, has built up a big bank of science unit plans, which again, although many of them are US based, I think will still be of great interest to science teachers and maths teachers out there. There's some fabulous project-based ideas and units of work there with detailed lesson plans, assessment timelines, great resource lists and lists of URLs which will support these units of work. So yeah. So that is pretty much, I think, all from that I was going to say at this stage, Vicki, but I'm just wondering if there are some more questions anywhere. So it looks like Kate is maybe typing.
I'm happy to have people ask some questions in the chat, or if they want to speak on their microphone, they can raise their hand, Becky. But I'm just going to pull up a slide to get some feedback from our participants before we close it off. And I've left my colleagues' contact details there for more information on the STEM resources. We're happy to send them out to everyone. And of course, there are some useful links in the pod there for you to have a look at in terms of the CREST project and the ISEF video, etc. And of course, you can download some of the resources from Scootle as well down the bottom. But if there are any other resources from this webinar that people would appreciate links to or copies of, then just let us know. I can see Becky's throwing some links into the chat. So please feel free, people, to copy and paste them into your browser and take them away with you. The recording of this video will go into the archive in Scootle Community and also onto the ESA YouTube channel, but probably not for another few days, I have to say. But happy to take any questions or emails from people before then. I can see Kate's got a question there, Becky or Vicki, if you want to grab that.
Now, Kate, my understanding with the course is that the course is geared for teachers. So there is lots of information for the teacher's own professional development, which then you can use to suit the level of the literacy levels of your own students. So the PDFs that are available are not very, I'm just trying to remember it because it's been a while since I've actually looked at all the PDFs, but they're not very, what I'm trying to Becky, you're probably better at answering that particular question.
Yeah, there are areas of the course that really look at skills and abilities and so on. So there are resources which cover that, yes, within that.
Okay, yeah.
So really, Kate, done any inquiry learning with students before, so it really starts teaching strategy. They can sort of jump in at a higher level, so it is your curriculum for a real live group of students with
at the action plans between the two teachers. One of the teachers is Ken. A fairly young, inexperienced teacher, first time grappling, working in the inquiry space, and so you're planning a unit and you're thinking about, well, my students have these abilities, but they're going to struggle with this. What would you suggest? What would you do? And they actually nut that out as part of the conversations as you work through the teacher's action plans, and then you've got your own action plan along. Way to utilise it for yourself.
Okay, that was great. Thank you, Vicki. Thank you. And we can share it in the community as well so people can come in and find it. But I think we might fill in the polls before they leave the room, but otherwise that was wonderful. Thanks so much for sharing it with us and being